let us talk about social literacy. Social literacy concerns itself with the development of social skills, knowledge and positive human values that enable human beings to act positively and responsibly in range of complex social settings. It is the knowledge of how to behave and treat other people in a way that is morally upright, just, and equitable, with a view of promoting positive and productive relations that are free from unfair prejudices, hate, and discrimination. Now, let's try to understand the descriptions given to social literacy. By being morally upright, we refer to thoughts, speech, actions, and motivations that adhere to a standard of right and wrong. Just refers to speech, actions, and behaviors that are in line with a fixed standard of justice, a system that promotes and rewards good actions, punishes wrongdoings. Equitable are the speech, actions, behaviors, and decisions that treat others fairly, regardless of background or circumstances. To be equitable means seeking the good of others and finding means so that everyone gets what they need rather than simply letting everyone gets the same thing in the same amount. Peers in schools play a formative role on the social skills development of children. There are three interrelated components of social skills: social perception, social cognition, and social performance. Social perception refers to identifying and utilizing social cues to make judgments about social roles, rules, relationships, context, or the characteristics of others. For instance, social perception analyzes how we form impressions about others. Social cognition focuses on how we process, store, and apply information about other people and social situations. An example would be on how we think about others and how those thoughts influence us. Social performance or social actions and behavior has received an increasing emphasis among the three, particularly in terms of outcomes. The judgment of the outcome of one's social behavior depends on what is socially acceptable or valued in a given social context. There are several types of social skills that children and even adults must master to be socially adept. These range from the ability to initiate, maintain, and end a conversation, to reading social signals, to more complex skills, such as solving problems and resolving conflict. These skills include greeting, initiating conversation, understanding the listener, empathizing, reading social cues, previewing or planning, problem solving, and apologizing. Now, let us take a closer look at each social skill. The first step in social interaction is greeting someone. Greeting others is done not only with words like hi or hello, how are you, but with facial expressions, tone of voice, and gestures, such as a nod or a wave. The nonverbal part of greeting someone is just as important as the words. It is not so much what one says but how he or she says it that lets people know he or she is glad to see them. In order to carry on a conversation, a child must be able to initiate, maintain and close conversation appropriately. This requires good listening and attention skills, as well as the ability to take turns and probe for missing information. To be a good conversationalist, one must observe turn-taking and reciprocity. Once a conversation is initiated, it has to be maintained. And to do that, one needs to understand the audience he or she is talking to. A socially adept person quickly and unconsciously identifies and categorizes his listener, measures what he or she has planned to say against the anticipated response of the listener, and then proceeds, alters, or avoids what he or she has planned to say. For instance, a child must know that talking to authority figures is not done in the same way when talking to their peers. In other words, you can converse in a socially appropriate manner by taking the perspective or point of view of the other person or thinking the way they think. Empathizing means that one is able to feel what the other person feels. Empathy allows one to really connect with the other people. Children or people who lack empathy are often labeled as mean, unkind, or self-centered. Reading social cues is very important in a conversation. Cues are the hints and signals that guide us to the next thing to say or do. Social cues can be verbal or nonverbal. Verbal cues are the words that the other person is saying. Nonverbal cues, on the other hand, are the body movements, body orientation, nuances of the voice, facial expressions, details of dress, and choice and movement of objects that communicate. Simply put, nonverbal cues include all the ways you present and express yourself, apart from the actual words you speak. Conversations also require that one previews or thinks about what effect the words or actions may have on the listener before she says or does them. If the impact will be negative, one can adjust what she might say or do. Problems and conflict are often a part of social interactions. Someone may not agree, get angry, insult, or become aggressive at something that one says. How one reacts to these conflicts depends on how good her problem-solving skills are. Conflicts cannot be avoided and are often necessary to clear the air. Turning a conflict from a win-lose situation to a win-win situation is the best way to resolve a conflict. This requires negotiation and compromise, give and take that results in a situation where all parties can live with and help maintain friendships. Everyone makes social mistakes at one time or another. A person with good social skills is confident enough to make a sincere apology for his or her error. Apologizing is a courageous act and is the quickest and easiest way to correct a social blunder. It is a sign of humble and mature character when one commits mistakes. Now, what is the role of parents and teachers in teaching social skills to children? Parents typically play the major role in teaching children social skills. They can directly teach these skills by modeling, role-playing, and providing opportunities for the child to rehearse and practice new skills. School is the place where children spend the majority of their time with peers. It is therefore a natural and perfect setting for children to learn and practice social skills. Teachers can take advantage of every opportunity in school to help children improve their social skills. They should be alert to teasing and bullying and aware of children who are rejected or ignored by their peers. They should work cooperatively with the children's parents to prevent the humiliation, embarrassment, and distress that befall these children. Another important question is, how do children learn to live socially with each other and with adults? The FIST view is normative and communal. This means that, from their culture, children learn certain customs that provide them with a guide to act in ways that minimize conflict. Children are persuaded of the moral force of acting socially through their voluntary associations with others, both in their immediate circle, such as the family, and in the wider community. The second view is pragmatic and individualistic, which means that, the social order of children is created by explicit and implicit agreements entered into by seeking individuals to avert the worst consequences of their selfish instincts. In this view, social order is dependent on sanctions and formal agreements. Rules are obeyed because they confer personal advantage on a person. Teaching social literacy in schools is not easy. It is because of two reasons: the subjective standards of morality and the inherent human capacity to judge and make excuses. What do these mean? The natural outcome of postmodern philosophies is that truth and morality are considered subjective and open to individual interpretation. This can be seen in the current culture, where actions and behavioral patterns that were once considered bad have now become acceptable, so much so that many now consider them to be even good. In other words, with the differences in cultural backgrounds and orientation, it is really difficult to impose a fixed moral standard, since an acceptable behavior to a certain group of people may not be true to all the other groups. While we would all like to believe that people are inherently good, experience has taught us that the inherent goodness of humanity is, at best, unreliable. Sometimes it is there, often it is not. People are not consistent and unpredictable. In the future, when you become professionals, there are certain social skills that you need to observe and practice. Blake offers us this helpful reminders. First is situational awareness in the workplace. For example, when you are going on a job interview, typically, you will be required to dress appropriately to demonstrate a level of respect. A particular behavior demonstrating lack of situational awareness about what is appropriate to do in different social circumstances would be showing up to interviews in casual clothing, texting, or using phones during job interviews, or even bringing their parents with them. Situational awareness in the workplace means being aware of what is socially acceptable in terms of dress or behavior, for example, to stand out above colleagues. The second important skill is the ability of the young professional to communicate using traditional or modern communication tools. This also means being able to communicate intentions properly and appropriately, particularly in writing application letters, emails, business letters, and the like. This social skill, and the other one presented earlier, are important for young professionals to succeed in their academic and career endeavors. Indeed, social literacy in general is an important skill that one must possess in order to promote a harmonious interaction in various contexts. I hope you have learned something from this presentation. Thank you for listening.